It would help if my microphone was not muted. All right. Tonight's episode of Cryptic Crunch. Welcome here, everyone. I am your host, Willow Schuyler. Tonight is we're talking about the legend and the myth of the Tommyknockers. So get ready to give your gifts to the entity that lives in your caves, and let's get strolling. All right. So, unfortunately, tonight Keisha is unwell and can't join us, but I'm sure she'll pop in periodically in the chat if she's feeling up to it. So, tonight is just me and the prophet of pop culture, Johnny.
Hey there, friends and foes. Good evening, Willow Schuyler. She is my favorite emotional support Canadian, and I understand, Willow, that there's a little bit of a party going on in the house tonight.
Oh, it is the Grey Cup. It is our version of what you guys call this. Well, sorry, my brain is broken. It is our huge football party.
The Super Bowl.
But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we charge a whole lot for our commercials to be played during this time, which I guess is a good thing. But we actually just had one of the guys from Florida Georgia Line play during their halftime show, so that's exciting.
Oh, only one of them?
He went on a solo career.
Really? I have not heard about this. I mean, they are local to my town here in Nashville. They own a restaurant down. Ooh, this could be juicy stuff. Well, Willow, I spent the day today at the Gallatin Comic-Con, and
yes.
it's the first Comic-Con I've been to in a while because life has been so tumultuous. I was supposed to be at CryptidCon this weekend. Couldn't go to that because it is my wife's 50th birthday yesterday, and my daughter made her debut as a lead in a collegiate production of Zombie Prom, which was phenomenal.
I saw the post. She looks amazing in that dress.
Yes, she's phenomenal. So I wasn't able to go to CryptidCon, and the Memphis Science Fiction and Comic Expo was this week too. Now, Donna and Lauren from the Ice Cream Queens were there this weekend and hosted a big event last night. And so I hope that they'll be showing off some of those photos and videos on their show and on their pages this week. But
apparently we have a touchdown.
something happened there.
Return to a touchdown.
Uh-oh.
So there's going to be periodic interruptions.
Broadcast professionalism at its best right here, folks. But Willow, today at the Gallatin Comic-Con, I actually spent money. For those of you who know me, I am a miser when it comes to spending money at cons. I really don't spend money at cons. I'm a dealer's worst nightmare. But I'm walking by this one booth, and in their loose figure bin,
Oh my God,
they have this. And so,
oh my God, that is cool.
I knew, Willow, you would want to see this. This is the Marvel Famous Covers Wolverine, and it's the only one of the line that I don't have. Cloth costume like the old Migos, and it's what, I don't know, 8 or 9 inches tall, and isn't that just great?
Wow, they did a really good job on that figurine.
Now he had it in a plastic bag with $8 on it, and he sold it to me for $5.
Nice. That's a good deal.
Yeah, so that's going right on my bookcase. I've already got a spot for it, and yeah, I can tell we're gonna have to like have your finger on the mute button for some language.
Yeah,
that
I
may happen.
realized that. I am so sorry.
Well,
If it's not me being overly emotional when it comes to sports, it's my husband. And no, like you can't take me to sporting events, otherwise I will. If it's a bad game, I do shout out at the players.
that's funny. That's funny. I'm not a football fan. I'm not a sports ball fan. I do like baseball, but only if I can be there live. But anyway, we're not.
Yeah, sorry. So, on to our subject.
Yeah, we're not here to talk about football Comic Cons or the like. But I knew you would appreciate that Wolverine action figure from the famous Covers line. And it's one of my favorite lines of figures ever. I have all of them. That's the only one I didn't have. So when I saw it for $8, I was like, yes. But we're here to talk about the legend of
the Tommyknockers.
The Tommyknockers. Now, Willow, I had never heard, believe it or not, I had never heard of Tommyknockers. I'd heard the phrase, and I knew it was a Stephen King thing, but I didn't know that it was like a cryptid, a legend. I had no idea. I was completely clueless. And so I went down the Yeti hole of doing some research. And I've got some stories, and all of a sudden, some things that have happened to me personally may make more sense. So,
okay.
But hey, do you see that we have like friends?
Yes, we do.
And fans lined up in the chat.
Hello, Carl.
Carl Witzman.
Hello, Dan Hollyfield.
He says, good evening.
Carl Winsman with, hey, Dan, Donna is lurking here somewhere.
Skulking in the bushes with Bigfoot. That's funny. Carl, if you need a place to stay tonight after that comment, call me.
Donna Carlene says, hey, Dan. Looks down. Actually, his feet aren't that big. I don't want to know what you're insinuating. Dan with, I found the link a while ago just before Willow's message. Excellent. I made sure that our fans got the link to our show.
Yeah, my apologies. I'm falling down a little bit on the job.
Oh no, that's okay. I should have set it up last night before I went to bed.
Well, I've just been underwater.
My bad, guys.
Yeah. And so, hey, Eli Cash is joining us.
Oh.
What knockers, Dr. Frankenstein? What? Is that a reference to Young Frankenstein? Is that what that is?
I have
a feeling that it is overtly sexual. I have the sneaking suspicion.
Carl says, poor Keisha, we shall keep her in our thoughts. Thank you, Carl. Oh yeah, is that where John was on Friday? I could not make out a word while he was with us. Things were cutting out.
Oh, that's because the internet is horrible. When in downtown Nashville, I was doing a ghost tour and I was waiting for my guest to show up, and I got a notification that Carl Witzman had started the green room, and I was like, I've not been in the green room in forever because I'm normally working Friday nights. So I jumped in and said hi, but apparently my signal wasn't strong enough for them to hear me. So I was just pretty much talking, waving to the air.
Carl says, poor Willow's hubby is suffering badly back there. You know what? As long as we keep winning, It should be. I'm not watching the game, so we might have a chance.
Oh, is that the Willow curse?
I am cursed. I swear. Every time I try to watch a game, whether it be hockey or football, our teams end up losing. And yeah, so I stopped watching sports for a while.
That's funny. That's funny. Hey,
yeah, we've been doing really well.
That's good. That's good. Dan Holyfield just made a funny comment. I was told there would be rails. We've already gone off the rails a little bit with football and action figures and Comic Cons, but we'll see. Shall we?
Yep. And so, Eli here with our last comment. Thank you, Dr. Inga.
Yeah, that is from Young Frankenstein. So Tommyknockers, what is the deal?
Well, from what I gathered, they are like gnome-like creatures or goblins that reside inside caves that, either in like Europe has all kinds of different stories, whether from all over the place, and they brought the myth to America when they came. I'm sure there's stories up in Canada as well. I haven't really done much research whether or not the Tommyknockers actually exist here, but it's more so in Midwest folklore.
Yeah, I found some stories from Appalachia, which is coal mining country in the U.S. And I reached out to some people because I had never heard of Tommyknockers, so I started doing research and I saw they've been called dwarf miners, goblins, gremlins, and I tried to find images, and Willow, the only image I was able to find was this one. Yeah. Now, I here's what's really strange. Okay, so apparently these Tommyknockers, these goblins, gremlins, these dwarf miners, kind of like American leprechauns. They apparently reside or appear in caves and in mines, and they are said to knock on the walls, and a lot of people think that they are harbingers of disaster that is to come. When you hear the knocking on the walls, that means there's going to be a collapse, a cave-in, some kind of disaster. But they also seem to steal things and abscond with tools and other things, and people give them food and gifts in tribute. And I didn't know any of this. I'd never heard any of this, and my wife's family is from Appalachia.
No.
And yeah, no, it's true. And my wife's family is from Appalachia, and her brother was a coal miner. All of her family on that side were coal miners. I never heard any of these stories. I just thought it was a book that Stephen King wrote. And all of a sudden, I went down this deep, deep Yeti hole into researching the Tommyknockers. And do you want to hear some of the stories I've
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. All right. So this comes from an anonymous, someone who wants to remain anonymous. I put out the call in some of the cryptid and folklore groups that I'm a member of. Hey, are there any experts on the legends of the Tommyknockers? Anybody got stories? And so this comes from an anonymous poster. When I was young, got to listen to some old coal miners talk about their coal mining days. It's been almost 30 years, so my memory is fuzzy. The two guys were of the I don't believe in the crap, but this is what happened sort. kind of like Dan Holyfield. I can't remember which experience belonged to which man, first and last time I ever saw them. So they told her that items would just randomly disappear and reappear. One said that his pickaxe disappeared. It was sitting against the wall next to him, and he searched everywhere for it. And can't remember if they blasted or if a section of the wall fell away, but the pickaxe was embedded into the coal vein. It had vanished, and now it's embedded in the rock. And he couldn't really verify that it was his, but it was quite an interesting coincidence.
Wow.
So, at first I'm thinking, it's just stuck in the rock. But when I read that word embedded, that tells me that it was like
it was put in there with enough force to make it stuck.
Yeah, or it was like actually part of the sediment in between. And then another story was he and a different buddy were working, and when they heard a mine cart coming towards them, they glanced back and then did a double take, because it was a half full cart was coming up a slight incline and nobody visibly pushing it. Just a casual stroll, walking speed. And his buddy walked over to it, and as soon as he touched it, it stopped. And the word they used a lot was gremlin, especially when equipment would fail, apparently tampered with, keys went missing, wires were ripped apart, switches flipped with no one there, etc. And then there was the knocking, where we get the name, the knocking. They said that a lot of people expect it to be very quiet underground, but the earth is moving. All that pressure, right? And you learn to listen to that, and knocking before the collapse was no doubt rock breaking apart or gas escaping, but sometimes they said it was almost like something was mocking them. Like it sounded like it was, pickaxing on the other side of the wall. And this guy was being a jerk, knocked a rhythm on the wall, and something knocked the rhythm back. Dun, 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 dun.
Wow.
Obviously an echo. Well, not if it's, maybe it could be, maybe not. I mean, you want to hear, if you knocked a pattern and it came back, that's not an echo. That's a repeat. Because an echo you hear almost immediately.
Yeah.
Right? But this is where it gets interesting. Besides the knocking, there was whispering and scurrying. Nothing he could understand. It was just like someone was whispering just out of the understandable hearing range. Her grandfather was also a coal miner, and he and a co-worker were working in a section that wasn't really being worked. They heard some scurrying, and they were expecting a possum or something. But they claim it was a 2-foot bipedal being. He only saw it from behind, but he said it was wearing clothes and then disappeared right into the wall. When his co-worker asked what was that, he knew he'd seen it too. So they both saw it. And he reported it to the supervisor, slightly worried that maybe there was a gas buildup that was making him hallucinate. Safety checks were done. Everything was good. And then he got mocked for seeing David the gnome. And then
clearly other people have seen it and they named him.
Yes. And then this is another story that was sent to us. But again, anonymous. This was a relative that had told them this story. One smartass gave this relative a canary in a cage, and he planned on taking the bird home and then finding it a proper home. See, in mines, miners use canaries to as an early warning system of dangerous gas buildup.
Hmm.
Because when the canary dies from the gas, they know they need to get out because they're at
Yeah.
risk too. Um, so it was a joke, ha 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 ha, and he was going to take it home, give it a proper home. Except when he went to get the bird, the cage was empty. And he figured, somebody took it, let it out. Maybe it lifted one of the doors, and it escaped. And he asked people to keep a lookout for it. Figured it probably found a nook or cranny to hide in, or die of thirst. But 3 days later, they found the bird. It was in a padlocked box.
Oh.
And it was, kind of in a bad way, but it did pull through.
Hmm.
Birds don't get into
Wow.
padlocked boxes by
Mm.
themselves.
No, they do not.
Now, here's my thing. So, after I read some of these stories and read some of the accounts online, about legends, and they're described as goblins. So, about 2 months ago, I'm doing a ghost tour in Nashville, haunted tour, and I'm telling these stories, and we're in the building that currently houses Dick's Last Resort.
Okay.
And it's a former slave auction house. And we have all kinds of hauntings that go on there all the time. But one night I was standing on one side of the room and I felt something run down my left arm. And
Oh.
it spooked me enough that I moved, and I told my group, my audience, that, hey, something just touched my left arm. And one of the girls on the tour started taking pictures. And I wish I had the picture, because she captured a small, maybe 18-inch high person under the table. It was
Wow.
kind of a grayish color, a triangular shaped head, these white eyes, very small mouth. You could see the veins and the muscles in its neck and shoulders. It was standing behind a chair, so I didn't see the rest of the body. But it had a very similar appearance to this.
Huh.
And when I saw this picture tonight, I was like, holy crap, that's what I saw.
Wow.
And people might wonder, well, why would a gremlin or a goblin or a Tommyknocker be in a building? Well, it's a good question. I'm glad you asked. All throughout Nashville are a series of tunnels and natural caves. The tunnels, wind all throughout downtown, underneath the streets, and all end at the Cumberland River. Well, this building that I was in is right against the Cumberland River, and there is a tunnel that runs underneath that building. So if Tommyknockers are cave dwelling, tunnel dwelling gnomes, goblins, or gremlins, this was a perfect place for one to, come upstairs and join the party.
Wow. A couple of years ago, Ghost Adventures did a episode of searching for Tommyknockers in the Colorado gold mine. Yeah, they went and investigated all throughout the tunnels. What I wish I could find clips of this episode, because it was a really interesting episode. It was one of those episodes where the one of few episodes where you actually got to see and kind of experience what they were experiencing. They set up all types of cameras and had like the spirit boxes going. They managed to make contact with with creatures, and they've actually seen like little like the little leprechaun things just like dancing on one of their
What?
cameras. Yeah,
What?
that was amazing. Like all you caught what they have is like these cameras that show like kind of like stick figures.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And,
No, I
and
know what you're talking
oh
about.
man, that's like one of the most exciting episodes that I've watched of Ghost Adventures. And makes me want to get like these like I know it would cost thousands of dollars for this equipment, but I would love to have that set up and see if I can set it up and do something at the hotel at night. But
Well, the equipment actually is not as expensive as you think, um, especially since these reality TV ghost shows have become so popular. Um, there have been manufacturers who are mass producing a lot of that equipment now, so you can get it at a pretty reasonable price. So I would definitely check that out. Now, here's okay. So apparently, these Tommyknocker legends are not like just contemporary. There are stories that go back to Native American folklore, and the Cherokee called them um, pixies or fairies. Now, here's where this gets really strange here in Middle Tennessee. Okay, in what in Woodbury in 1868, there was a pygmy graveyard discovered.
oh,
So yeah, and it's Woodbury, Tennessee is about, I don't know, maybe uh an hour outside of Nashville. And this farmer discovered these graves and an entire graveyard. And here are some of the skeletons that he dug up, and he had them preserved, lacquered. They're like 18 inches to 2 feet high. And this is the original article that they were found in White County and other places in Middle Tennessee. But it is vastly more extensive and shows that there was a race of pygmies who once inhabited this country and were very numerous. Um, so, and they said that it was estimated that there were 75,000 to 100,000 graves in this discovered graveyard.
hmm.
I mean, I mean, come on.
Wow.
Maybe the Tommyknockers are either ghosts of pygmies or just leftover pygmies that are hiding out, afraid of
And
prosecution,
see,
persecution.
the gold mines, they also employed children. So, you know, maybe
Ghosts of
they're
children.
ghosts of children that have died in the caves, or
Well, here's what's so fascinating to me, Willow, and because I went down this Yeti hole researching these legends of Tommyknockers appear everywhere in the U.S. Everywhere that there is any mining or natural cave formations, out in Texas, in the Midwest, Arizona, um, in Appalachia, as far north as Wisconsin and Minnesota. Um, this is not an isolated regional legend. This is nationwide. And when you have, Cherokee Indians telling ancient stories like from, the BC era, all of a sudden you got to go, okay, is there maybe some, because I'm one of those people who believes that in every legend it's based in some truth.
Yeah.
And when I saw that pygmy graveyard had been discovered in 1886, what?
That's crazy. There was a comment.
Yeah, we got a ton of comments.
Dan with they're probably related to cobalt. Yeah, so that was one of the things that came up in my research was these creatures would kind of trick the miners into chopping up rocks or giving them stuff and leaving them trinkets. One of them was, breaking open cobalt, and which would release green gas.
Well, now wait a minute. Okay, finish. I had never heard this term, and now I'm going down this.
That is one of the myths. Was like they would trick the miners into chopping it, like cutting open these green crystallized rocks, and it would release a gas. So hence the name cobalt.
Okay, so I never heard this term either. And Wikipedia says a kobold was a reptilian humanoid standing between 2 foot and 2'6", weighing 35 to 45 pounds, with scaled skin between reddish brown and black in color and burnt orange to red eyes. Their legs were sinewy, and they had long clawed fingers and a jaw like a crocodile. Small white or tan horns protruded from the forehead. What? I'd never heard of this either. And that sounds very similar to the image I saw on that girl's photo. I think I may have seen a kobold or a Tommyknocker, a cave goblin. What the crap? Yeah, and Dan adds what I just said, that from his reading, kobolds are a subspecies of goblin. And that's the only way I could describe what I saw was a goblin.
To break up the tension, of course, Eli has to make little jokes. Little gnomes or goblins that reside in caves can't confirm or deny any relations.
Oh, he's definitely related.
I don't know, Eli. I think I'm shorter than you. You might be safe. The knocking on the walls sound familiar. Might have heard about them before, says Carl.
Well, and I get that if you're in a cave and there's rock cracking from pressure and whatnot, it's going to make a sound.
Yeah.
And you might mistake it for a knock, but a crack or a break is very different from a knock. And if there's rhythm to it, a repeating rhythm, that's a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah. And I mean, like when you're chipping away at something, you have that rhythm, but it, depending on the instrument that you're using, definitely has a certain like ping to it. So knocking on like pipes or something, that definitely has a totally different tone.
Yeah.
Maybe it's one of those things that they don't talk about with outsiders, or like it will make them angry. That seems to be very common with a lot of these stories, though, that have popped up from miners of what they saw. Is a lot of them will say, I do not want my name disclosed.
Well, exactly. The person who shared these stories with me did not want me to say who she was, and where the stories came from. And here's what I've discovered, and I know this to be true from my wife's family. the coal mining community, miners, are very clannish.
Mm.
You know, they're a very tight knit group, and they don't trust outsiders. And so it's not. It occurs to me that it's not unusual that they've not shared these stories outside their clan.
Yeah.
And I have heard, you know, in my reading, that these Tommyknockers do get angry, and apparently you found some pictures of
Yes.
people and the gifts that were left, because
They
apparently,
will.
yeah,
They have created like and deities to give gifts to,
shrines, basically idols.
and like that is amazing. That is cool. That's creepy as hell, but it's cool at the same time, because like in order for them to have safe passage, or safe working environments, they will give food and gifts and whatever they find in the mines to these creatures to keep them safe.
Well, and that was another story that somebody shared with me, that her uncle and grandfather were miners, and everyone in the mining outfit would have an assigned week or day or week, I can't remember which, to give tribute. Bless you. And apparently, you know, people would bring cakes and pies and baked goods from home, and you know, toss them into the cave or set them in the cave for these Tommyknockers to receive. And this one story was, it was the grandfather's job one time, and he brought a case of oatmeal cream pies and would open them and just toss them back into the back of the cave to keep. It was to keep the miners safe, to, you know, appease these angry goblin creatures.
Interesting. All right, we got more comments. So Keisha, thanks for visiting us. Get well soon. Drink lots of fluids.
I want to know if Keisha has ever experienced something like this on her farm. I mean, she's experienced everything, but I would think if anyone would have, you know, some kind of knowledge or experience with goblins, it would definitely be Keisha Acuff. And I'm not talking about Dolores.
I was just going to say, that's a nice name for her to call Dolores.
Now, is this an image you posted?
Yeah, that was one of the images that came up, but I'm like,
well, I mean, that's
Lord of the Rings ish,
okay.
D&D.
Well, I want to know the source of this photo that I found. Is this from the movie Tommyknockers? Is this something else?
Honestly,
or just
I'm not even
rendition?
sure, but I know I've seen that during my research as well, that people have referenced.
Because finding images, even artist renditions, was really tough.
Yeah,
I found a lot of articles, a lot of stories, but no like pictures or real photographic evidence.
and that's the one thing about the whole Ghost Adventure thing is, you'd think that they would have posted up something from that episode.
So we have an interesting comment here from Eli. So let me set this up, because Eli and I live in the same town. I live outside of Nashville, north of Nashville, in a town called Gallatin. Now, Gallatin, Tennessee, is a terribly haunted town. During the Civil War, General Payne, that was his name, hung 750 innocent people in the town square. People, because he was crazy, and he would execute anyone he even suspected of being a rebel sympathizer. And so apparently 750 people, but Gallatin, just like Nashville, has dozens of caverns and tunnels underneath it. And some of them are still accessible. And there's a rumor about a satanic shrine in one of the tunnels. And Eli suggests that maybe the rumored satanic shrine in Gallatin's tunnels and cultists hiding in the hills of Watertown worship these goblins. Yeah, so Watertown is a nearby town. So maybe this satanic shrine has been misinterpreted for one of these Tommyknocker tribute shrines.
Maybe.
Because if I saw that, I would think that was a satanic shrine.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like it's not like they describe anything on, like, there's no plaques or anything with them that state what they are, yeah.
It's interesting that they have horns. Didn't I just read that the kobolds have horns protruding from their head? Yeah.
It's an interesting myth, and a lot of speculation on what people have seen in these mines. I for one am one of those people that would love to investigate this myself, but I'm also a big chicken when it comes to, doing this stuff alone.
Well, hey, come to the States and we'll go investigate it. Now, Keisha says that no little creatures like that have been spotted on her farm. I'm shocked, quite honestly, to tell you the truth. But
no, just aliens like to visit her farm.
Yeah. Well, and so that's the other thing. So when I first saw that picture of the goblin in the building where I was and where I was standing, my initial thought was that looks like what a lot of people describe aliens looking like, but it was much smaller and it had white eyes instead of black eyes, and it was kind of a greenish tint, greenish gray. But now that I know about Tommyknockers, I'm like, that's what I saw. Oh, hey, look at that.
Sorry, I had to block that.
You can buy XXX encounters with live Russian girls.
No, thank you.
So again, Eli makes another interesting comment. What's weird is that I used to make jokes about goblins and Gallatin before I've come to that realization. Maybe I was something in my past life. Well, you were definitely a leprechaun. And Carlene, Carlene says the XXX encounters is better than encounters with dead Russian girls. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Keisha is here. There is an annoying creature killing my animals right now, but it's just a mink. Again, when you catch the mink, send it to a fur. Send it to someone who can turn that thing into a scarf.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a very short scarf. Minks are not very big.
No, but
I mean they're only about this big, so it takes a lot of minks to make a coat.
Or a taxidermist would do something cool with it too.
Maybe. I don't think I've ever seen a mink in the wild. Are they really that deadly? Are they really that?
They're of the weasel family. They can be pretty aggressive. Yeah. How common are minks in central Illinois? Must have escaped from somewhere.
No, I think Carl Witzman is asking this question. I think that mink, weasels, mongoose, ferrets, all that, rodent family are pretty common all throughout the U.S.
I know we have them up in Canada here as well, but yeah, it's.
You guys have like a lot of badgers and wolverines.
We have lots of weird creatures up here too. So, but yeah, no, I haven't seen a mink, but yeah, I've seen my fair share of other like weasels and stuff like that.
I'm going to look up a picture of a mink because I don't know that I would recognize one. Okay, come on.
The mink may be found in statewide in Illinois, living in areas with permanent water. This mammal feeds on birds, reptiles, amphibians, insects, fishes, muskrats, mice, cottontails, crayfish, and voles. Thank you, Keisha.
Wow. You didn't know you were going to get a lesson on mink biology and habitat. There's a mink. See, that is the cutest little thing. That is adorable.
And that thing is killing Keisha's chickens right now.
See, that...
They look like a little kitten.
I know. I just want to pick it up, put it in my pocket, and take it home and cuddle it. And then it rips my face off in my sleep.
Yeah, they're aggressive little creatures.
Yeah, so Acuff, do you not have a hound dog to protect the chickens? Because the dogs will go after that mink.
So Carl was just about to say what you said. It's adorable until I was just going to say that. Weasel lizard.
Dan Hollyfield calls it a weasel lizard.
Yeah, there's a mashup.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, with all of this research, Willow, I mean, you've experienced some weird things at the hotel. But I mean, and I know that I've seen pictures of you and your husband doing some camping in the past. Do you go out in the wilderness often?
Not as often as we used to. Like I miss going camping, quite honestly. And in the times that we did go camping, nothing really weird happened.
Okay, so you've never seen anything like what has been described. But maybe you're not camping near any cavern areas.
Yeah, the thing is, like, the closest mine to us would be up north. So yeah, it's nowhere near Winnipeg, but yeah, Flin Flon has a mine. And they actually, I love our government for being dumb as hell with this situation. There's an abandoned mine in Flin Flon. They tried to have to grow legalized pot in that mine.
And did it get stolen? Did it go missing by the Tommyknockers?
No,
the Tommyknockers are all, man, you wouldn't believe what happened today in the mine, man.
It didn't go very well because the plants died because it wasn't kept up properly. Which, had they hired people who knew how to grow plants,
a horticulturist.
This is why you hire a bunch of stoners, guys. They know their stuff. So yeah, this was like 20 years ago that they tried this. Yeah.
That is wild. So from the people who are watching, you guys have all commented, but I want to know from the folks watching, or if you're not watching or listening live, in the replay, I want to know if you guys have ever had or seen anything like what we're describing. Because now that I've learned about what these Tommyknockers are, I'm convinced that that's what I saw in that girl's photo. And I want to know more. I want to go find them. I want to catch one.
If you can find this picture, I will definitely share it around social media. And
I begged her to send it to me, and she said she would, and never did. I'm so frustrated by that.
Well, it looks like I got some social media scouring to do in the next little while.
Yeah. I'm sure it's been posted somewhere, because she captured another picture in an abandoned building that is under construction, and there's this column inside the building, and she captured something with its fingers wrapped around the column, and I mean it was pretty freaky. That was big. That was a big something. This was a wee little person. The wee people.
It looks like Eli wants to go investigate.
You know what? I'm thinking yes, we should. Now here's where this gets even more interesting, because in Gallatin, where I live, we've got the tunnels. The neighborhood that I live in, the houses were built. It's on an old plantation, and the houses in our part of the neighborhood were built on the former slave quarters. And so brand new construction. We've only been here 4 years, but my daughter all the time tells me things go missing from her shelves. And she came in one day, and she had this little mouse figurine that she has sitting on her shelf, and this like a little family. And she left, and when she came back a couple of hours later, they were all turned around facing the back of the shelf.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe we've got gremlins, Tommyknockers coming up. Oh, see, I'm not going to sleep now.
Now I want to have your daughter on the show someday and talk about her experiences. That's cool.
Well, and she's a theater student at Austin P University, and every theater is haunted. It's like it's something about theaters and hotels are always haunted.
Okay, so here's the weird thing. Why is it always like either the owner of the theater that passed away in some like horrible accident, or in the case of one of the theaters in my city, a baby was left in the theater and grew up there.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Like just learn to fend for itself?
The baby was raised. Sorry, I should have rephrased this. The baby was raised by the family that owned the theater.
The theater,
and
true. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
So, but yeah, it's so strange that a lot of these theaters, like I know I've heard of stories where theaters go up in flames, and then they built the existing theater over top of like the land that it used to be on, hence the hauntings of previous owners. But it's always like weird stories of horrible deaths, and it's
Well, that seems to be the thing, is that when someone dies tragically or there's some kind of emotional trauma, that psychic energy resides there. There's residue from that psychic trauma. And part of me believes that's really what ghosts are. Is and the most haunted places in America, Willow, they've recently discovered this, have a high concentration of iron in the ground. And it's a specific type of iron rich limestone that has magnetic properties similar to magnetic tape. Well, what do we use magnetic tape for years? Cassette tapes and videotapes, because that magnetic tape can record sounds and images. And maybe the ghosts that we're seeing are really just the memories that are held in the magnetic rock.
Oh.
Maybe that's what Tommyknockers are, because they're in the rock. Maybe they're pygmy people who lived, hundreds of thousands of years ago, and their memories, the memories of their existence, is recorded in the magnetic iron-rich rock.
Maybe.
I think we just solved it.
That.
I don't know.
If you guys have any idea what these things, what these creatures are, please let us know, because I'm curious as to know what you guys think as well. Well, that's almost the end of our show, Johnny.
I can't believe it. This went by in a heartbeat.
That's crazy. So, where are you gonna? It's gonna be Thanksgiving this week for you guys.
Yes. So, we'll be off Saturday morning from Back at the Cereal Box. Kind of. There will still be a show, but it will be pre-recorded.
I'll be around if you guys need me. So
okay. But I'm gonna be celebrating Thanksgiving with the family, and then maybe the day after, doing a little road trip. I gotta get out of this town. I gotta go, just be by myself for a little while. But anyway, that's what I'm gonna do. Eat a bunch of turkey and then go investigate. Maybe go to Huntsville or Chattanooga.
Ooh.
A couple hours away. Just day trip.
Yeah, Dan stayed on track nearly the entire night too. Yes, we did.
Well, I'll tell you how that happened, Carl Witzman. Keisha wasn't with us. She's the one who derails everything. We love you, Keisha.
Knockers, voodoo, ghosts of insane generals, and Lovecraftian loony at the chat. Welcome to Gallatin. Oh, does that describe your city there, Johnny?
No, that describes Eli Cash's imagination. That's what's going on inside his head. It's a dangerous place.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell this story quick. So you were saying that there's been some weird happenings at my hotel. Well, yeah, they're one of the weirdest things that I found so far while making the bed tonight. I found a knife that completely describes the mentality of Winnipeg.
Wait, what kind of knife?
It was just a little steak knife.
Oh, so probably left over from somebody's room service.
Probably, but of all the weird things, why is it
in the bed? Because I carry a knife with me everywhere I go, and this is the one I carry. This is a custom-made Damascus steel blade,
Oh,
and yeah, beautifully weighted, balanced very nicely, and I'll cut you. I carry that with me everywhere I go.
yeah. My city is crazy. So, Eli, I feel your pain. But yeah, okay. So, Johnny, let us know where we can find you on social media and what you have planned for.
Well, it's right
coming week,
here.
or-
It's right here. johnpica.com. Check it out. I'm going to be kind of chill this week. So if you don't see me on social media a lot, it's just because I'm taking the time to relax and recharge. Nothing to worry about. And yeah, so that'll be great. Now, we do need to acknowledge one thing tonight, Keisha, and I'm going to Keisha, Willow. We do need to acknowledge one thing here tonight, Willow, and I'm gonna pull this up because this is actually kind of shocking. What we discovered this morning. When I woke up to some rumors, and it turned out the rumors were true. And I want to bring this photo up if I can. God, I hate the internet. Anyway, we lost Jason David Frank, the iconic Green Ranger from the Power Rangers, and he was 49 years old,
Yeah.
and apparently victim of suicide. And that's one that's terrible, but we want to honor him and just
There's
say
the picture for him.
yes, there it is. There it is. We want to say rest in peace, Green Ranger forever. Thank you, Willow. You got to that faster than I could.
No problem.
You're good at that.
Guys, there is suicide hotlines available to call. If you guys need a chat with someone, I would like to make myself available to anybody who needs to chat. I'm a good listener. Please do not keep silent when it comes to your mental health. I have a therapist. I'm not afraid to talk about it. Listen to your gut, listen to your heart. Just make sure that you're talking to someone who will listen.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. What about you, Willow? Where can people follow, find, and support you?
You can find me all over social media. I am on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook. So yeah, you can find me pretty much everywhere.
That's awesome. And for those of you who are watching and you love our show, you can support us, and specifically you can support Cryptid Crunch at buymeacoffee.com/cerealboxpod. You can specify that your donation, your support go directly to Cryptid Crunch. And if you hate the show, then donate even more generously to help us improve. And you know what, Willow? I know that we're doing something great here because we got some hate mail on the Facebook page. Yeah, we got some haters. And you know what? Bring it, baby. Because one of my mentors was the late great comedian Red Fox, and he said, "Kid, you're nothing in this business till someone's trying to tear you down." So
that means we made it.
yeah. If we're getting hate mail, we're doing something right. So pile it on, baby. But pile it on with a financial donation.
All right. You guys have a great night. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we'll see you on our next episode.
Bye.